sparks, counting candles in the sky. What a thrilling time to be alive.
What a thrilling time to be alive is right. Georgia has landed the commitment of an elite in-state receiver. I'm Palmer Toms. He's Rusty Mansell. This is a breaking edition of the Georgia Show. The Bulldogs land elite in-state wide receiver CJ Wiley out of Milton High School, bringing the class rank up to number 3 in the country. He adds to an already really solid group of receivers. Rusty, just what's your reaction here on this Wednesday night?
Man, that's a big one, man. That's a kid that Georgia really, really wanted. I mean, they, they lose some from time to time, but when they're locked in on a kid for this long, and it happens about once or twice a class, they just lose one. I would say Mike Matthews from Parkview last class, I went to Tennessee. They were locked in on him, just could not get him. But CJ Wiley was that guy in this class that they were locked in on, did not get him when he committed to Florida State this summer, but credit to James Coley, and I'll say it right now, James Coley never let up here. He never stayed out of communication. You see the first bye week after Georgia, what game was that after they played, before they played Alabama, they had a bye week.
They played Kentucky before the bye week, had that bye week, and then played Alabama. Yep.
Yeah, it's in between. So the only game Kirby Smart went to that night, took a helicopter to see Milton play and couldn't talk to those kids, couldn't visit those kids, but he stood on that sideline on a Friday night and he let CJ Wiley know, I think, and that's the only visit he got. He was out. Once he used that visit, he was done until after Thanksgiving off campus. Now the kid can come on campus, and he did come on campus, but for Kirby Smart to do that, I think that delivered a message, but all the credit right here in the world, man, to James Coley. He went out and got he not only went out and got some wide receivers, he went out and got one that was a major, major target in the state of Georgia. This kid, I've seen this kid since a freshman. I had him in camp as a freshman. He was at Alpharetta High School. His dad played at LSU. Dad played with the Falcons. Mom ran track at LSU. Just a great family. But, I'll say this, that James Coley never gave up here. And this is one of those big deals. 6'3", shade under 6'4", 210, smooth athlete. He plays at Milton, and they're so good. Like, he plays with Ethan Barber, who's the Georgia tight end commit. Well, their quarterback's going to Miami. Their running back's going to Eastern Kentucky, who's a lot better than that. They got playmakers all over the place on that team, defending state champs. And he didn't have to be the guy. I mean, he's not like that. He's never been a limelight guy. He barely talks. I told Chad Simmons this morning, and I got some stuff. I'm going to put a note on Dawgs HQ. If you're a subscriber, go over there tonight. I'm going to give you a note, and I'm going to tell you why I thought this thing was going that way. And that's what you pay for, those behind-the-scenes things. But I also told Chad that this kid's not going to tell anybody. We're going to wake up one day, and this kid's going to tweet it. And guess what happened? At least he did it at 8 o'clock on a 7:30 at night, and not a 7 a.m. So. But big deal, man. That's a huge deal to get him. He's a great kid. I mean, he's a great kid, very quiet. You see that picture there, Palmer. That's from the event we were at, the Nashville On-3 Elite. I remember being up there and trying to talk to him, and yes, sir, no, sir, just really quiet. But one of the things I noticed about him, every time somebody got up to speak, you knew had a piece of pen and paper out, CJ Wiley. He was paying attention to all these guys. Jimmy Sexton, Will Compton, all these guys that we had talking to these players, the Tennessee Titans players, anybody that had anything to say, he was taking it in, man. This is a really good kid.
Yeah, a quiet kid and somebody that Georgia, like you said, has been recruiting for a while, committed to Florida State in June, just after that On-3 event. And that was a surprise commitment, I would say. I think
nobody.
Most people coming into that thought it was going to be either Georgia or LSU, like you mentioned, with the family ties to the Tigers there, and then the in-state ties to Georgia, to Florida State, and very similar, very reminiscent to the way that KJ Williams' recruitment played out. Probably a little bit quicker, considering it didn't go down on signing day. But he decommits from Florida State just earlier this month, and or I guess it was probably October. Made a visit there to Texas A&M as he was coming off of that, and I think the Aggies had a lot of momentum there. But ultimately, it's Georgia and that effort, like you said, of of James Coley to bring in a really, really talented kid and another really talented kid, because you look at the way that he's been recruiting in this class. Talon Taylor, somebody that you are incredibly high on and could end up as a 5-star. You look at what he's doing in the next class as well, going out and getting Vance Spafford earlier this week. Georgia is really making waves, and that's exactly why James Coley was brought back as the wide receivers coach this offseason.
If you look at the On3 industry-wide rankings for 2025 in the state of Georgia, Elijah Griffin, number 1 player, committed to Georgia. Justice Terry, number 2 player, uncommitted. I still like Georgia there. Isaiah Gibson, 5-star. Warner Robbins, verbal commit to Georgia. 5 stars. Zayden Walker, number 1 inside linebacker in America, committed to Georgia. Elias Williams, number 2 tight end. I don't give a damn who he's number 1 tight end. You can't tell me he's not. Elias Williams, number 2 tight end in America, committed to Georgia out of Camden County. CJ Wiley, top 12, number 10 overall in the state of Georgia. Overall in Georgia, now verbally committed. You know who number 11 is? Osmani Chroma, the running back from Lee County. When I tell you Georgia, what they're doing in state, it is very obvious. And I think anybody that follows this day to day, knows, not just me. I'm not going to say here, not just me. Anybody that kind of knows the state of Georgia, this 2025 class is as deep as I've seen one in a long, long time. And I'm telling you, Georgia is really doing damage, and they are not done. I'm telling you right now, they're not done. And I'm not talking about if they land Justice Terry. There's a little more meat on the bone than there is just that 5-star. They got some stuff coming down the pipes that's coming in this class in state too.
Well, and Rusty, I think as you look, I mean, I'm scrolling here. We're at the number 19 player in the state, and he's a top 150 player in the country in Juan Gaston. Yeah. Cortez Smith, like you said, Chase Linton is somebody that Georgia's got a lot of momentum for, and that commitment could be coming. He announced a date earlier this week. Todd Robinson, top 200 player. John Tay Gilbert, top 200
player. Go back up. I can tell you right now, I did the Prince Avenue game on TV the other night. Christian Garrett once committed. You can go back up above Cortez Smith. Christian Garrett, defensive lineman out of Prince Avenue, once verbally committed to Georgia. He decommitted and commits to Georgia Tech. Georgia's still trying there. I mean, I don't know a whole lot there, but after doing that Prince game Friday night and talking to a lot of people in that community, even Brent Key was there on the sidelines. Jess Simpson, the Georgia Tech defensive line coach, was there Friday night, but Georgia's not done there. I'm not saying they're going to flip him, but don't write that one off yet, because they have not given up there. They're still in on him hard.
Well, and Kevin Wynn too are up earlier in the rankings. Florida State commit. Could Georgia take another one from the Seminoles? Landing Wiley here and KJ Bolden. Last December. Rusty, just overall thoughts on this class while we're talking about Georgia recruiting. Number 3 in the country. You mentioned all those in-state kids that they've got. Talon Taylor being a top 50 player in the country, number 7 wide receiver. I swear this kid just gets slept on left and right. Darren Ikenigbon, just completely forgotten about in this class, but a really talented player there.
It's number 2 player in New Jersey. And here's the thing. He committed early and he hasn't taken any visits. Like there's there's nothing around him. Chidera goes in and gets him and locks him down. And, Ohio State, Penn State, everybody up Northeast trying to get a foot in there. And the kid hadn't taken any visits.
Ryan Montgomery, the quarterback out of Ohio, that was a big flip there, or a big commitment. Momentum wasn't necessarily going Georgia's way at the time. You look elsewhere. I mean, continued success in state. Ethan Barber, not a top 200 player, but man, he's having a really good senior season there.
They rave it.
Right alongside CJ Wiley.
They rave him, and I'll tell you something too. That him and CJ Wiley are really close, and they share basically the touches there, and that's a deal where they played at Alpharetta together, I think, as a freshman, and both come over to Milton and finish out their high school careers, and they share touches and stats. They don't care. They're trying to win a state championship there, so they don't. I said I think Elias Williams is number 1 tight end in America. I think Elias Williams is a top 5-10 player in America, Ethan Barber is underrated. Like he holds his own. I don't want to have to put him against those two right there, but both of those kids make Georgia better.
Just a top to bottom, really strong class on both sides of the ball. They've continued to do work. They continue to land kids and Rusty, I don't know if they're going to land a second straight number one class in the country, but they're making a push for it here as we're less than a month out from National Signing Day. If that even exists anymore.
I think people, Georgia fans, I think the number one recruiting class, I don't think it's a life or death. They want to know, are they getting the pieces they need? You know what I mean? Are they getting, wide receivers? Number one, I can't go anywhere without people talking about wide receivers. And Landon rolled in there, another kid I think the world of. Thomas Blackshear, all those guys, Landon Rowland, I personally watched him run 4.4. And you see the logo behind it. That's my camp. I didn't know who it was.
Rusty.
Chad Simmons did, yeah. So I didn't know who the kid was. Not going to sit here and lie, but after he ran 4.4, I promise you I knew who he was. So, I think Georgia's going to be a top. Here's what I always tell people. They're like, is Georgia going to finish number one? I'm like, man, it really don't matter. They're going to have a top 3 class. And do they get all the pieces that they need? And 98% of the time, they get the pieces they need. And they needed to hit on this 2025 class in state, and they have done a great job so far. And they got more meat on the bone, man. I'm telling you, there's more meat on the bone. Obviously now, Justice Terry is going to be the question. He's not going to – I don't expect Justice Terry to pop up and put a tweet. I can assure you that. Justice Terry, they're trying to win the state championship at Manchester after losing last year. He's kind of taken his visits. He's gotten back healthy. He's back on the field. They might be the favorite in his class to win the state championship. So, that's a team you want to watch. And I think he's going to commit. Somebody told me he's going to make his decision on the last day, which would be the 6th. That window's the 4th through the 6th. But I don't know that he'll wind up doing that on a Friday. You know what I mean? A game day. That would be state semifinals. I don't see him doing that. But I don't expect him to make any type of pop-up announcement. But I do like where Georgia sits for sure.
Yeah, a lot to like. And like you said, a lot of meat left on the bone and a big opportunity, a couple big opportunities ahead here as Georgia just, continues rolling along on the team side of things. They'll have a big, obviously a big game this weekend at Ole Miss. They'll have a big game next weekend at home and a big recruiting opportunity as well. 3 straight home games to close out the season and Black Friday, probably not the best of recruiting days, but a big opportunity here late in the season to make an impact.
I disagree. I think it'll be a huge day because that's just the quarterfinals. So you cut down a lot of teams. There might be some kids playing basketball, but you can travel on that day. I mean, you can travel. You can drive a night game, in-state game. Be a lot of attention. I'm very interested in how that game goes, even with high school football into the quarterfinals in the state of Georgia. It'll be quarterfinals a couple of places. So I'm not sure they're going to get the kids from Texas and California stuff are going to come next week because they can fly in red eyes and those types of things. But I do think that they're going to get a lot of people from Georgia, Alabama, probably northern Florida, those types of places. They can get them in. Very interested in that. But man, right now the news is CJ Wiley. This is a kid at Georgia. Man, they were all in here. They had to have him. The Texas A&M, I'm telling you, he was this close. He was that close to committing to Texas A&M last weekend.
You could feel it. You could feel the momentum there after the decommitment and that visit.
Yep.
And all that momentum A&M had, picking up, several big pieces in that 26 class, from the state of Georgia, from Douglas County, and a lot of momentum there at Texas A&M. Hey, maybe Georgia and Texas A&M end up matching up later this season in the SEC championship. We will see. Hey, just a reminder. $1 for 7 days over at Dawgs HQ right now. We got a big game flash sale going on. Rusty's working on a visit list. We mentioned that big weekend next weekend against Tennessee. Georgia's going to have a lot of big names in town. A lot of scoop to come out of that more than likely. And this push to National Signing Day is on. The countdown is on, Rusty. And so get your sleep while you can because it's going to be chaotic here before too long. But Dawgs HQ, the place to be, $1 for 7 days, and give us a try. Any last thoughts, Rusty?
No, I just I'm sitting here thinking about I'm you guys that are members of Dawgs HQ. Thank you guys that want to give us a try. Give us a try. I see a lot of green people, a lot of green there that you subscribe to Dawgs HQ Plus. We're gonna get some recruiting stuff tonight. Have your story, but I'm about to go to the board and I'm going to type up a little bit of behind the scenes on this CJ Wiley deal. Something that happened this morning. I called Chad Simmons. I said this might be a real good sign. I don't know. It turned out it was a hell of a sign. So. I'm going to get over to the board.
That's going to be worth your $1, folks. If you're not,
I'll have to get Jake Rowe. I'll have to get Jake Rowe to edit it. But it's a pretty cool thing, and it wound up being a huge deal. I've been in the business long enough to know that I should have trusted that. But I did call Chad Simmons, so I do have a witness. That happened this morning. Should have known. Regardless, Georgia gets a hell of a football player, man. Wide receiver. I know Talon Taylor. I know his family. They were really hoping that this guy joined the class. I mean, they wanted him. They wanted as many wide receivers they could get. There's no worries there. This kid's locked in. This is 5 wide receivers now. I'm telling you, they need them, and they're going to be active in the portal too. So they are trying to change that wide receiver room or add to it as quickly as possible. In today's world, you can do it, man.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that can change the narrative of that room real quickly. So, thank y'all for joining in. This
Appreciate
is a
guys.
breaking edition of the Georgia Show. And, hey, like I said, come on, check us out over at Dawgs HQ. But for Palmer Toms and Rusty Mansell, we're out.